Hello everyone and welcome back to the Cyclocross Social podcast. Today it was the second day of racing here at the Cyclocross World Championships, our third day of reporting. I am here in Hulst. Today we are on a football field and a DNS today, sadly not here, but joining us from the Netherlands is Issam. Thank you for being here.
DNS. On the Belgian Federation, or at least some of the Belgian riders had similar faith, but not due to illness, but due to circumstances. But I'm here. Hopefully tomorrow I will be there. And thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm of course also coming to you from the Netherlands, but I am further south in Hulst. It was a good day of racing. The course was quite a bit faster than we had yesterday. The sun came out this morning, the wind, it really dried it out and made it a fast day of racing, and we'll go over all the categories of racing that we had, starting with the last race of the day, the Women Elite category. In the first part of the race, we really got what we expected, right? We said before the race there are three clear favorites. They are all Dutch. Pieterse, Lucinda Brandt and Ceylin Alvarado. Brandt was not making a strong impression in the first two laps. She was the third rider of that group, hanging back. Pieterse, meanwhile, she was really strong. She was really going for it. You could see around the VIP tent, the few corners that were a little bit more muddy. That's where she went all out. She really put Alvarado under pressure, forced a small mistake on her, opened the gap. And the TV, they missed a lot today, because at the end of that lap, Pieterse had a small gap. Brandt took over from Alvarado in second place. And the next shot we got after we watched the start-finish straight for a minute, boom. Brandt in the lead, forcing the pressure. And soon enough, Pieterse, we said it before, her fatal flaw, every rider that we'll probably talk about today has one. And hers staying on her bike, a really hard hit on her head, destroying the TV camera, coming down the big drop by in the windmill section, the first big drop of the course. That's where she crashed. She was out of contention. And Brandt, she had a 7-second gap, and she controlled that gap. You knew, okay, it's very hard now for Alvarado to close this, but then Brandt made a mistake herself. In the uphill corner before that big drop where Pieterse crashed, she fell herself. Alvarado came back, but then in the going into the penultimate lap, Alvarado, outside the sights of the camera, we don't really know what happened, but Brandt was all of a sudden gone. Brandt went on to take her second world title, her first since 2021. You can't say it's undeserved. Alvarado came second. Pieterse, she had a rough middle part of the race. It was really tough for her. She took a big hit and she managed to repack herself and still claim third. We'll talk about that later. Or maybe we'll talk about it now, as I'm in the contest for that win. But I don't think you can say it's an undeserving win for Brandt after such a season. Like, she's been so good this year. What can you do? It's deserved. And also on the day, she made a mistake, but she managed to recover from it.
I think that if Brandt wouldn't have won this title today, we would have said that it was such a shame, because her season was so strong. She was so strong, and it is what it is. But fortunately for her, and fortunately for her season as well, because it would have been a crime if she wasn't able to secure that world title, and it all came together. I think that you're definitely right. In the first two laps, she was trying to kind of have a feeling for the course and try to figure it out a little bit. There were some slips left and right. She was trying to get a feeling. It was definitely not as bad as we saw on the Dutch Championships, which was way worse opening of a race. For a part, it had to do maybe with how especially Pieterse was putting on the pressure in that beginning opening of the race. And I think that from the moment Brandt took the lead, there was the mistake of Pieterse, nasty crash in a sense. Luckily, she was able to continue, and I have to say that from that moment we lost Pieterse. For sure, I was hoping that Alvarado would be able to challenge, but at that point you already had to kind of realize that Alvarado was, she was already in some difficulty, I guess, when Pieterse was putting her under pressure. So you're already looking into someone that has already put in the effort and was put under pressure by Pieterse at that point. And then Brandt basically, she was able to have that gap, and then that gap obviously disappeared because of the mistake, and the race was blown into, there was again a battle for the victory, and we had some hope, but it was at that point it was like getting more and more clear that Brandt was in the better position, and a very deserved world champion, and she deserves in a sense, because that last World Championship in Ostend, which was, with COVID and didn't really have the same entourage and the same kind of feeling it had right now. It was great to see that she had that support, and then of course in your own country, it's must be even a better feeling in a sense. So the race was then at that point ridden with the mistake of Pieterse, because I think that Pieterse maybe, it's hard to judge obviously, but I think that Pieterse was maybe the rider that could have made it Brandt a little difficult, but she wasn't there due to her due to that mistake.
Yeah, and that's what we talked about, not just before this race, but throughout the entire season. Like, you could see Pieterse was really strong and was really in a position for the first half of the race at least to challenge Brandt. She was really, really strong. And as you said, when Pieterse made that move, you could indeed see that Alvarado was already hurting. Like, those accelerations around the VIP tent section, it was suffer for Alvarado. Brandt came around and she couldn't follow that wheel to slingshot herself back into that leading group. She was already quite far down. It's impressive that Alvarado managed to keep her head in there, right? Like, She didn't give up. That gap stayed 7 seconds. That's how we know Alvarado, but she stayed in that mix. But like you said, like, you already knew, like, okay, it's been a lot of suffering, and then it becomes a matter of, well, without Pieterse, what do we really have to play with? We have Alvarado, we know that she's been dropped already. Does this crash really affect Brandt or not? In the end, it didn't. I think it's a shame we didn't get to see the attack. At least I didn't. Maybe on the big screen I missed it, but I thought, at least for me, looking mostly at the big screens, we missed quite a lot of action on the broadcast today. And somebody texted me, like, is this a World Championship broadcast or X2O? No live timing at the bottom of the screen, limited graphics, the World Cup has it better. And I think a lot of the focus here on the shots was on, the spectacularness of the drone, and look at these flamethrowers, and look at these nice slow-mos, these cinematic shots that maybe do better in an Instagram reel than on the broadcast when there's actual action going on. But other than that, it's a fantastic course, fantastic venue. The course, like I said before, it's a lot faster, it's a lot more power heavy than I had expected coming here into this weekend, and I think that reflects in the results that we had so far. Brandt really could use her power, and how the course was yesterday, it was a bit slower, a bit more slick, a bit more, not necessarily tricky, but the soil was just a bit softer and made it a bit slower and a different feel to it than today when it was really, really fast. This is pretty much Hogerheide, and because of the course changes, the first part, yes, it has those chutes up, but because it's so fast, they don't really have the same look and feel to it as in previous years. This whole VIP back tent section, it just creates a different course than we had here for the World Cups, and that's fine.
They upgraded this course in a sense to a World Championships level. And I think they succeeded in that, and they obviously want to showcase all the drone footage and the special things Hulst has to offer and the course has to offer in a sense, but I think those have to be fillers. They don't have to be things that are going to intervene with actual live events that were crucial to the race, and they unfortunately did, because we missed the crash of Pieterse. There were crucial moments, I think, like 4 or 5 moments in the race at least. There were actually more, I think, and it was also in some of the other races there was a lack of urgency to be sure to not miss that much in the race, and that was a shame.
Get the replay started. That also took forever, right? In that lack of urgency.
Yeah, indeed. So it was, you see something happening, or you see like the events already unfolded, and you see kind of the consequences of it. And then it's like it takes a minute or so before we saw the replay of what actually happened, and it's like you were so fast with the drone footage and with the replays of things that we didn't need to see. Why did it take so long? So it hampered me at least a little bit with the broadcast overall and to the enjoyment of it. But I think overall it was all right. I think I still could enjoy the race, and it was a shame that it happened, but I could live with it. And I think that the racing, maybe it's a good question. I think there was a lot of hype around this race because, if we look definitely on both elite categories, this was the more exciting race for sure, at least for victory as well. Did we expect Brandt to be on this level? Was before this race? What do you think? I think in a sense we did, but it was also, we were scared in a sense because we saw how good Pieterse was and we saw how good Alvarado and the showing that they did, but It was hard for me to judge how that exceeded my expectations, if I have to be honest.
I think it depends how you look at that, Issam, because first, we had, of course, that Maasmechelen, and I said I was never in doubt of her form, and that much I agree. I expected her to deliver today a great performance. But this mist curtain, this dust that they were kicking up, that always is confusing. Like, do you buy into it? Do you not? Like, we recorded the preview podcast on Tuesday, and on Wednesday I read an interview with Sven Nys, and at that point I decided, okay, they're just making up stuff now. This is just throwing up a curtain to put away the pressure, because all of a sudden it was like, oh no, there was no ankle injury. It was just a decision to take rest, and there was a concussion after Zonhoven. And look, this whole thing about concussions, we went over it with Viseur last week. Cyclocross and cycling in general can do better, but also cyclocross. Like, if Brandt has a concussion, why does she go to Spain to train? And why is she racing a week later if she's still feeling the consequences from it? That's bad management. I want to get that out of the way. But at that point, when they really started pushing that narrative, and then I read another interview, oh no, I'm not the top favorite, guys. I won all these races, but because last week it went wrong. Like, at that point, for me, it was clear, okay, they're kicking up dust. What did that then mean? Well, that needed to be shown today, because I think Brandt was at a really good level, but without that crash, Pieterse, I think, would have been in contention. It doesn't matter, because we have seen this from Pieterse. This is her own fault, her own mistake, and we've seen it time after time again this season. Last weekend was the one weekend she didn't make these mistakes, and it resulted in 2 wins. That's an oversimplification, but again, today, one vital crash, a really hard hit on her head, meant it was over. Alvarado, she, I think, didn't quite have the legs to reach Brandt. I don't think on this course we should consider that too surprising. Their second part is so much power, and you could especially see, like, after the stairs, when you went over this weird carpet section, Bridge Road, that's really where Brandt stretched the gap. Alvarado could keep the power up on the first section, but then needed to settle in, recover a little bit, and that cost her in the end. Alvarado didn't have the legs today to become world champion. Perhaps she didn't find the course for that either, and we'll need to wait again for next season. Second was the most achievable on the day today. I don't think she can be too disappointed with that. Pieterse, on the other hand, third. More was definitely achievable. At the very least, silver. Gold was a possibility, but it was her own mistake. Nobody caused that crash other than herself. She lost control of the front wheel, unclipped. It was a really nasty hit, so I'm glad that she was able to walk away from that relatively unharmed. But if we're mentioning concussions, like, she also better get a concussion test after this race, right? Because that was a really bad hit to the head. You really could see it affected the race for a few laps, and then she kind of repacked herself, third, coming across the line, shaking her head. She too knew there was more possible today.
That is going to be a feeling that she has to shake off, in a sense, because there's not much you can do after it. You know, the race has been ridden and the opportunity is gone. That should be the rightful emotion, in a sense, because she had that opportunity to battle it out, and due to her own wrongdoing, in a sense, she was out of it. And I think that, you know, her reaction is very understandable. And there were some other riders that had some questionable reactions during the race, but we will come to that. But Pieterse showed that she had the legs to at least make it a even more interesting race. But that opportunity was not given. But that is a world championship. You know, we have to acknowledge that, in a sense. And as you said, in this season so far, she has shown it a couple of times where just those mistakes creeped in that were crucial for how the race eventually would continue, and her faith overall in terms of results. So, yeah, it is what it is. And this is exactly what we were talking about in the preview as well. It's just these moments can turn a race upside down, and you can basically throw your predictions and previews out of the window, in a sense, because those are those external factors that could, you know, play a huge role in how the race will develop.
So when we say Pieterse could have potentially won without the crash, that is not a devaluation of Lucinda Brandt's win. In fact, if you place it in the bigger scheme, like Issam, 9 world championships in a row, she's been on the podium. Like, that's unreal. Like, 9 consecutive cyclocross world championship medals from BLS until here. Is that correct? From BLS until here, or was it from Valkenburg until here? Valkenburg until here, I think. I think she missed it in BLS. Yeah, she missed it with that big crash on that drop. And that's exactly like one of the first times that Brandt at the World Championships cracked under that technical pressure and wiped out and lost a potential podium. But now she's a totally different rider, like compared to where she came from. Really good interview in Belgian sports magazine Knak with Jonas Creteur, a real reflection on the career of Brandt, how she started in like the lowest leagues of cyclocross technically and made her way up with Sven Nys, decided to drop road cycling because it didn't give her the fulfillment, then did road a bit more, but focusing more on cross, which she enjoyed, and really embracing that trajectory. And she therefore didn't make many mistakes. She made one crash, but it was a less bad one than where Pieterse crashed. So of course you can't be flawless. I mean, Alvarado also had a few smaller mistakes, but 3 small mistakes or 1 crash. In the end, it adds up to a significant amount of time loss. So the deserved rider won today. I would say based on the overall season, the podium was also deserved. But in that battle for 3rd place, Issam, I think we saw Pieterse kind of getting justice where she belongs, but I also noticed another dynamic. So a really big group, lots of riders. We'll talk about the 2 riders who got knocked out of that group a little bit later, but at the end of the race, who did we have in contention? We had Pieterse, who finished 3rd. Her main rival was Blanca Vash. Then we had Foucounet, and we also had Zoe Backstedt. Those were kind of the riders hanging there, right? And the riders that rode away there, Pieterse and Vash, those were the riders that were at the front of the race from the start. Vash had a good start. The riders who needed to chase, Backstedt, bad starting position due to a short cyclocross campaign. She was chasing all the race. Foucounet also, like, she's had good starts all season. The most important day of the year, she doesn't have a good start, and it's a bad day to have a bad start. She too spent that entire first half of the race chasing, and then in the last lap neither of them had the strength to really match Vash and Pieterse, who seemed to be a bit fresher. And on that, I mean, I think all of these riders can be relatively happy with the result that they got, but Vash, like, she delivers once again. Like at the championship, she is there. There were some doubts, of course, but in the end, look, I mean, 4th here is not a bad result. Of course, she was disappointed after the race. Many riders were disappointed. Many people were happy that the season was over for them for more than one reason. But it's still like she delivers on the day, so it was good.
Delivered, you know, I think she must have believed at some point that 3rd place was going to be possible, because, you know, the race obviously undertook a very weird development in a sense, because the riders that were behind the 3, Brandt, Alvarado, Pieterse, in a sense, they were not really thinking racing about the 3rd place. But Pieterse had that setback, and she was there with the riders you just mentioned. It was, you know, they basically also realized, oh wait, this is, you know, the stakes just became way higher at this point because we have a podium here now to contest. And obviously Pieterse had to regroup after that crash, and it was visible. And other riders start to believe in it, and they start to try and take initiative. You know, we saw a very eager Vash, we saw Zemanova being up there, Foucounet was thinking about it at the moment. But I think that Vash for sure today can look back at a very, very strong race, because I did not particularly expect it. Of course, we know that she has it in her if she has everything, you know, going her way in a sense. But today was a very, very strong ride, and if it wasn't for that mistake, for sure she was maybe under pressure as well, but she was in a really good position to maybe even snatch that 3rd place, and it was a shame to see that she wasn't able to do that. In a sense, as you said, it was justice that served there in a sense that Pieterse got that 3rd place, because it was very, very well deserved for Pieterse, as we are talking about her, you know, contending for a potential victory even. You know, she deserved that 3rd spot, and it was the circumstances that brought Vash to that position in a sense. But even if it was 4th, you know, and it wasn't because of, you know, that she was so close to 3rd because of the Pieterse crash and all that, I still think it was a phenomenal ride overall. And hopefully a ride in which, you know, this wasn't the greatest of seasons, but maybe this is a result again that she looks at and be like, okay, it still makes sense for me to be around there and do this sport next to the road campaign. And hopefully it's, you know, they obviously have Sanne Kant there as well in you know, this whole development and helping her out and supporting. So they are in a way trying to give that opportunity, the likes of SD Works. But hopefully they see sense in it to continue that, because I think that it would be a big loss if she would lose the focus in a sense on cyclocross or not do it as much as she's already doing it. So I hope that this is a result that she can really see the value of, because it was a very, very, very strong result.
No, it certainly was a strong result for her. I do think that the course kind of helped her. It was fast, but not just that. I mean, if you look at the second big shoot up after the bridge, like she carried a lot of speed up that every single time. So that was good. I mean, I don't have the results in front of me all of the time today because I'm on this soccer field, football field. And yeah, I forgot one rider. I thought like I was forgetting one, and that was Yolanda Neff in that battle for third place. I mean, first Fukunen maybe. A bad day to have a bad start, like I said. Bummer. I think she would have deserved more out of this season, but is it that like fifth? You might think, yeah, she's been on the podium, right? Yeah, sure, but like look at the race she got on the podium in recent weeks. Like, yeah, Maasmechelen was really, really good. Maybe that was her absolute peak, and she didn't reach that today. Can happen. It's been a phenomenal season for her. I just know like how much these elite medals mean, Issam. The French, they've been putting so much work into their development, but ultimately the goal is these elite races here, right? Like that's when they really want to shine, and getting a bronze medal there for any other country than the Netherlands would have felt like a win. Since 2019, 23 out of 24 medals here have gone to the Netherlands. Sylvia Persico is the only one to break into that streak. That was in Fayetteville. So it would mean a lot, and it would really show like the growth of that program. Fukunen, I think, still has quite a degree of progress to make, technically mainly, tactically maybe as well. So it was sad to see, but it wasn't just that program, right? Like Zemanova was riding really, really well. Then she went side by side with Ribeirol. Ribeirol had some generational head loss then and decided to shove into Zemanova, and as a result Ribeirol got disqualified and then decided to sit on the course to overthink her sins for a while. It was not a nice moment to see from Ribeirol there. I mean, it can happen in the heat of the moment, but definitely not sportsmanlike to say the least. And like Zemanova was doing great, but that totally put her out of contention. That side by side, the crash, the chain drop, then going to the pits. And it was a bummer because the Czechs as well. I mean, we'll talk about the junior woman race in a bit. They got 2 medals there. Like, that's all nice and fun, and it means a lot already to them. Like, the Czechs were telling me that there would be a big party in Lokeren tonight, and I was welcome to come if I wanted to, but instead I'm here in this cold football field. But Lokeren is too small for us. Like, it means something to them, right? Don't get me wrong that way, but this is the stage where it's about the elites. They do this development because they're building new generations and they want to see the results in the elite category. And for Fukunen, not a great day. For Zemanova, a crash. They miss the podium or miss a real shot at a podium. That's sad to them.
If you talk about that move of Zemanova there down the inside, it was a
audacious one.
It was, there are definitely going to be riders that are going to think 2-3 times about it before they make such a move. But she made that move, and then at that point you have to, as a rider, if you're on the outside, you have to just try and make sure that you make it to the next corner. And I can understand the frustration for Ribeirol because she was all of a sudden obviously also thinking about the stakes that has been upped in a sense because of the fact that Pieterse was there and it was now going to be for third. And Ribeirol must have been thinking like, okay, there goes my third spot because of a move.
Silly move. Reckless.
Silly move, and you have the head loss in a sense, and I can understand it. But it is not, in a sense you can understand it, but you should not try to find any excuse for it. I think it's wrong. It's not part of the sport. You should not do it. And I can understand the frustration and the emotions that are afterwards as well. This is something you work for in a sense, and especially when you have such an opportunity and it goes out of your way because some of your own wrongdoing and some of it's almost typical for how the season of Ribeirol went. And it was a real shame for Zemanova that she was taken out of it as well, or took herself out in a sense. Of course, it was a shame to see that happening because she definitely could have been in a position where Vash was in, or would have been close maybe. With Fukunen, I think maybe you could conclude in a sense that because of the Super Prestige and the World Cup and the position she was in, maybe I wouldn't say disregarded the World Championships, but they might have focused a bit more on making sure that she had, very solid results for the entirety of that last part of the season. And maybe they didn't have the peak. Maybe they didn't have the, Fukunen wasn't, I think that a strong Fukune would have been able to be fighting for third, I think. And now you just kind of felt that she just didn't have that margin, didn't have it just that little bit, and I think that would have been enough, maybe even to challenge Pieterse that was in that situation. So it is, and I definitely, I agree with you fully, and it is, most of the countries even speak about it very openly, that, the junior category is all nice, and it's great to have those results there and those medals, but it's all at the back of their mind with the idea of having those medals with the elites. It's, everyone talks about it, and in a sense, those are the ones that you remember the most as well in the next few years. It's so hard to name all the junior champions in the last 10 years. There's not a challenge, so don't try it, but I know you will. The elites, those are the ones that will hang with you the most. Those have the most value in a sense. So that is obviously what every country tries to aspire and achieve. And it was a shame that both Belgium as well, because they had a very good day today, to be honest, and the Czech Republic could have made it an even better day, maybe, potentially, because of the chances that they got. But that is also how the World Championship is. You at one point you are in arguably the best position, and that can be taken away in a corner, I guess.
It's not a good look for Ribeirol, but you accept it and you apologize and you move on. It's the same with the US yesterday in the mixed relay. That shot on the TV is not a good look for the team. You solve that internally and it's done. About Fukune, I agree with you, but I would say it's not necessarily because of the World Cup. I would make a different case. She started the season, Fukune, without a contract. So she started the season in quite good form, saying race after race, hey, I need to perform, look at my results, I need a contract. And to perform in Ruddervoorde and to perform now is a really long season, especially if you only sign your contract on the 28th of December in Dendermonde. So it becomes difficult then to also be at your best right now, right here. So I get that, but it's still like something to work with for next year's. Then, okay, two riders still here. First, Zoe Backstedt, good ride. I think she spent too much energy chasing, but almost the most achievable. Like after this season, it was fine for her. I mean, even in a way, like for Schreiber, it's an okay ending to the season, which has been disappointing. But then, Jolanda Neff, like, what a beast. She didn't race since the Swiss Championships. She comes here and is like, well, medal, yeah. Maybe I can win a medal. And she just takes the bull by the horns and is in that front group. That was such an impressive ride by her, like really phenomenal.
Imagine if she would have actually, got a medal in this race. She was racing like she was... I was surprised. I was surprised by the confidence. I was surprised by how well she was doing. We mentioned her in the preview, but it was a mention of she will be there or thereabout, but not... not this. I think that it was great to see. At times I feel like the sport just kind of brushes us over as if it's okay. Yeah, well, Neff is also racing, cool, and that's it. I think that hats off for the performance today. Great result. I think that for sure with those deep dives and that it helps it in a sense because. Vash was also one of those riders that was comfortable carrying speed, loving it in a sense. I guess it looked like she was loving it, and that was the same with Neff. I mean, there were definitely moments, shouldering bikes and all that you look at it, you're like, oh, it looks okay,
rusty.
But it's rusty to say the least. But man, it's like. The execution at times was maybe a B or a C, but the enthusiasm and the effort is like an A+, and I love to see that. It's honestly, it was great. And I think, with Backstedt as well, what you said, it's the chasing definitely cost her in a sense, and I think that was, I don't think that she should look at this race and be like, it could have been a top 5. It was a very solid effort from Backstedt, and, hopefully next year, she will have the a better entrance to the season, a better preparation overall, and we'll see what is possible for next year overall. Because the World Championships is also going to be a tricky one next year. Stand with the sand also, that's probably going to play a role. So that is that's going to be obviously a difficult one. But overall, but there are definitely also other challenges in that season, so hopefully she will excel in that, and she has that potential. So we should not forget, how she started this season and the way it all kind of, that interrupted beginning, and it's never great for a rider if you have to get into a season the way she did. And I think she managed quite well and held her own quite well and developed as well and progressed throughout that season. So I think that she did a great job. I think it ends for her here as well. So there's not much to critique. It is what it is, and it was a very strong outing.
You need to overcome these setbacks. Everyone will have some of them at some point in their career. I mean, Brandt had 2 seasons in a row with a broken collarbone or broken wrist that hampered her, and look how she's bounced back the last 2 years, right? Like, if we're going to talk about the setbacks and adversities that Alvarado or Worst have overcome, I'll be here when it's pitch black still listing them. So it's part of every rider's career, sadly, and I will just give you the entire top 10 then. Brandt, Alvarado, Pieterse your podium, Vash 4th, Foucounet, Neff, backset in the middle. Then the back end of the top 10 completed by Bakker. Slightly disappointing Van Anrooy and Marie Schreiber. No miracles here for Inge van der Heijden and Aniek van Alphen. They finished 12th or 13th and 14th after a end of the season in which fatigue really played a role for them. But I think nevertheless both of them will look back on a successful season. Moving on to the men's under 23 race. You got exactly what I promised you for a little bit. First lap, big group. Second lap, Owen Sparvel hits the front. He opens a 10-second gap. Becomes 15 seconds. And then it's not David Haverdings. Haverdings did not have a good day today. For the most part of the race, he raced like I've seen him do all season. But then in the final 3 laps, when normally he really hits the pedal and really accelerates, increases the speed, he couldn't do that today. He fell back. He didn't have a top 10 finish. His difficult relationship with the World Championships continues. However, we said it, there are always surprises at the World Championships, and today we got one. Aaron Doks. To put it extreme, he hasn't been able to ride a cyclocross bike all season. Crash here, crash there. On the fast course of Benidorm, he put it together and got a podium. Where half of his team was out with food poisoning or got sick in Spain, he was fit. He was there today. He closed that gap to Sparvel, the role that Haverdings has taken for most of this season. And after that, well, it was unlucky for Sparvel. His tube came off his rim, he needed to put it back with his fingers, then take a bike change, 20 seconds back. He made a push for it, but the penultimate passage of the barriers, he messed up, needed to get off his bike. And look, at that point, I think the win was already gone, but that killed any last bit of hope. Over for him. In many ways it was an unlucky race for the French because Romain Deboer was in contention for 3rd place. It was a good little battle there, also Leo Biscio in that group, but in the end the Dutch took over. Kaye Solo, another quite surprising name. I don't think we mentioned him in our preview. He didn't really have a season that indicated this, and that was kind of my feeling here, Issam. Like, we saw first of all the road riders come to the front. Doks, I said it before, he's too much road rider to do it on this course. Well, he proved me wrong and I misjudged this course. Sparvel, a rider who we know is very powerful and on the road. Kaye Solo, also a rider with ambitions on the road that performs quite well here. Leo Biscio making that move, another sign that this is a power-heavy course. So we saw that. I think it was unlucky for Sparvel. I still don't understand why he needs to go out so freaking hard in the second lap of the race. Like, just chill. Like, in the end, like with the tube coming off the rim, it's an unlucky end, and maybe he could have still pulled it off. We'll never know that, right? Like, that was quite a lot of time loss, and he really needed to chase from that. But he really needs to start racing differently in order to win these races. Doks, for that matter, he delivered a flawless ride today when it mattered the most. Yes, the course suited him. I'm not going to go as far as say as this is a Jan Christen fluke win like in Fayetteville, because we've seen him do more things, but like, this is kind of my feeling, right? Like, the win of Doks, it's surprising, but it's also not surprising. It's surprising because he didn't show it this season, but it's not surprising because we know his talent from years past, and that's the same with the 3rd place of Kaye Solo.
Maybe for some, when you say it like, when you put it like that, it's maybe confusing, but it is 100% the case. Doks was if you look at his season, it was a season of there was not much hope to get out of that. And I think if you hear the reactions also during the race of his entourage and people that were around him in that, you know, lead up to this race. There was, of course, they kind of knew that he is a talent and he has it in him, but they didn't really expect it to all come together at the day that it matters the most, the World Championships, and it came together. You know, he came through the field. He was there at the front. He had a Sparvel that obviously, you know, had his problem, but overall also has a problem with starting so fast and trying to break up the race, thinking that the finish is after 3 laps. And that's obviously, you know, for sure, he was unfortunate, Sparvel today as well, but he killed his own race in a sense by doing what he did. But it is in his nature. We have discussed that in almost every World Cup round that had an under-23 race, that he has to, you know, take it easy, and he doesn't have that. He doesn't have that control of himself doing so, and he's probably a rider that I'm 100% sure that the coaches have talked to him about it, but some just have that nature. Even during the race, he's not going to listen. He's just going to try and push, and only if he thinks it's a good idea to wait, he will wait. But that the idea will not come at this point, and hopefully it will come in the future, because he is a very talented rider and very strong. But I think that out on docks today, with the course that we had, he negotiated it quite well, and he had a lot of power behind him. I thought at one point, I don't know, I think it was the penultimate lap, I saw him slowing down a little bit, especially there in front of the VIP tents as well. And I was like, oh, this could be tricky, but he found himself again. He had that rhythm, and it clicked. It clicked, and he was today didn't steal whatsoever. He made, we missed, of course, Haverdings, who I don't know what it was today, but it didn't look great whatsoever, and that's, you know, that is Captain Obvious speaking here, but of course it is a shame, and he is continuing that trend, of course, of bad World Championships, and it's a shame for him. And Sole, he was throwing some encouragement when Haverdings was in difficulty, actually, when he passed him and he overtook him there by the VIP tents, and I don't know what he told him. It was a very short shout in a sense, maybe follow me or whatever, but Sole was strong. I thought that Van der Nijden would get it. It would help. It would have helped with my prediction in a sense, but you know, Sole had, but Sole was just a bit little better, and was one of those names that, as you said, at a World Championship surprises. You know, but it is not a huge surprise. It's a rider also with talent. It's a rider as well, which you said has these aspirations of you know, being also very good on the road. He wants to do there well, I guess. You know, he has a goal there maybe, and that can help in this race, because it was a faster race. It was rather fast. The pace never really dropped, and it was, I guess, in a sense, it was made even faster by the way Sparvel was attacking the course early on, because it put everyone on alert. Everyone knew, like, we should not give him that much space, and the chasing started and made sure that the racing, you know, became faster and faster. And Dox was, in my opinion, the one that was able to get through that phase the best, because he was the only one that was then be able to put them under pressure. And no, you know, they looked at it and were not really able to follow. You know, Sparvel obviously with his issue, but the others, they looked at it and they were like, yeah, good luck. See you at the finish line.
For Aaron Dox, one interesting thing to say is he was up at 3 a.m. this night because his roommate Kai de Bruikere was throwing up, and that whole situation with the Belgian team was quite interesting. I just to refresh my mind, just reread it on the phone to make sure I have it good. And yeah, the first thing was food poisoning, must have been the food in the hotel. The team doctor says no, it's a stomach flu. But Kai de Bruikere is in the hospital right now. He's hooked up to some IV because he's really not doing well. So clearly there must be something going around, because there were 4 DNS today. Niels van der Putte is apparently not feeling too well either. I mean, Kenai de Mooijer, he was just at home, and his father called the national team coach, hey, I heard Kai de Bruikere is out. Can you register him and can we come? So they arranged that, even though that guy's mobile home broke down on the way here. That must have been an eventful 12 or what is it, like 4 hours between that phone call and starting the race. No pre-ride, nothing. Like, we just ball. And Kenai de Moyer, I'm gonna check where he finished. I mean, even finishing the race for him was an accomplishment, and he finished 18th in the end. Like, that's not even a bad result. So I think that was one interesting narrative here. Like, we discovered the illness before the World Championships of Benidorm, and now it's happening something here again, and that's just sad for the riders involved. For the rest, Issam, the under 23 category behind Havertings and Sparfell this season has been very unpredictable, and these World Championships, I think, are a very, very effective reflection of that. So we have behind the podium guys you just discussed, Dog, Sparfell, Sola and Van den Einde. Van der Boer in fifth, he'd had a couple of good moments, but then he got sick and now he felt recovered again. This is a good course for him. But sixth place, Barnabas Vash. I mean, I didn't expect that at all. Like, almost the same as his sister. Like, they deliver on the day, on the spot. And Raul Mira Bonastre, seventh place. Like, this guy, this World Cup season, good first, second lap, but then, boom, to the back. I mean, sure, fast courses suit him, or we saw that in Benidorm, but still, seventh place is an overachievement. BCO 8th, Amy 9th, Jules Simon 10th. I mean, Oscar Amy as well, not necessarily had the season that would have reflected a 9th place at this race. But you see, the World Championships, especially when you have these things going wrong with some of the favorites, they're sick, they're not able to start, they're injured, they DNF like courses with a calf injury, they're not seizing the day like Havertings, then all of a sudden it becomes a wide open playing field, and in that it's nice to see some other flags of U23 riders in there. For me, the one of Vash is the most meaningful because of his age. I think that with, you know, Bonastre, yeah, it's the age. I mean, Oscar Amy in that sense is also relatively young, so it really means something, and you and I are both a believer in his talent, but still, it's cool to see.
We said it, the World Championships are, especially in the junior categories, is a, you know, so in the 23, it's the most noticeable. It's the one that is obviously going to be, you look at and you will present to the federation and be like, look what I did, give us more funding, help us out, you know. So I think it was great to see, and it was a shame that Romain de Boer was also, you know, there in that fight for third. You know, Mechanical took him out of that. That was a shame, because I think he was riding, you know, he was racing very well also there. Bonastre was also there up there. I thought, where is his difficult moment going to come, in a sense? Not to be nasty or anything, but fast course, but you still are thinking like maybe from behind there will be riders coming and you know, make him finish just outside the top 10, you know, and that. But now finishing inside of it and racing very strong as well, being up there. I think, you know, with this, the under 23, there is always surprises. I just hope in a sense that those surprises will continue on, you know, in terms of how their career will develop. For sure, there are a lot of riders there as well that have other disciplines, you know, where they are being pulled at, and maybe they will pursue that in a sense. And you just hope that they will, you know, try to stick around in with cyclocross as well, because I think it would do very well for the, as you see in the elite category on the men's side. It's just the base overall is very much filled with the Dutch and the Belgian riders. We kind of need a wider international base that is able to get inside that top 10 on a more regular basis. We have seen it at times, but it was more of a surprise. I can remember that in almost all of the races where we had like a Fontana, Bertolini, Gros Lambert, those are the names that are now popping up in a sense. When those riders were able to just get inside the top 10, we were like quite surprised and we're very pleased, because it doesn't happen that much. So we, you know, I think that is for me the most important thing. I hope that federations see the value as well of having riders that are able to be in that, you know, kind of base of elite riders, because I think that is also very important for eventual development of you know, having a rider that potentially could fight for top 5 or a podium. So yeah, that it was very positive. I hope that it will continue on being positive in the future, and at times it is picked up such a sign, but you know, sometimes we've also seen that it it lacks the funding, it lacks the interest, it lacks the vision to pursue that.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. It's difficult to really get that base going because the riders from the top, like the Dutch and the Belgians, and what teams are they, Issam? What teams do they race for? The big ones, right?
Like the big ones, yeah. That's where the support comes from. You know, the Baloises, the Paulshausen, the Roodhoofd family, in a sense. So yeah.
Yeah. So look at like the results, right? Like you see, 11th place, Victor van den Bergen, Paulshausen, Mats van der Leyen the 12th, Baloise. David Haverings 14, Baloise. I mean, okay, maybe a bit of an outlier, right? Sil de Brouwer 16, Kenai de Mooijer 18, both on Paulshausen. And then you look, Oscar Amy, Trinity, supported by the federation. Henry Koet 13, Trinity, supported by his federation. Takart Zombor, privateer. So it's just difficult to break through that, but hopefully that will come at some point. And if you look at the junior categories also today, again, the junior women's result, have them pulled up here, like a totally different playing field. In that race, we got what we expected. Lise Revol setting out very fast, opening a gap, and then started the question, is Barbora Bukowska going to close this or not? Because it was quite quickly clear that Pellizotti didn't feel as strong as she did in the last 2 weeks. Perhaps she peaked a little bit too early. That can happen, especially at such an age. She didn't have the ability to make that move to Revol that we saw on the previous lap. She was kind of hanging in there with a group of other riders, but then came Bukowska. She started cutting into the lead. She was 30 seconds down at some point, 20, then 10. The gap stayed for around 10 for a second, then she made another push in the penultimate lap, finally closed that gap to Revol, overtook her, and went on to take the win. What a story, Issam. Like last year as a first year, celebrate a lap too early, and then now to come back and secure the win like this. I mean, really, really phenomenal. I have understood that there is a cautious amount of interest in both Zemanova and Bukowska from teams that are starting to maybe potentially consider them, but Zemanova has been in that situation before, and then they never really followed through with appropriate deals. So we'll see what I can make from that maybe tomorrow. For now, it's just a very, very loose rumor. Bukowska wins ahead of Revol, and then Lucie Grohova, a surprise third place. I mean, I don't think we mentioned her in the preview. She was quite good this season, but didn't really show anything that indicated this performance. I mean, perhaps she could have even challenged Revol because she crashed on the start-finish straight going into the final lap. She was really, really strong today. Phenomenal ride by the Czechs. Their first world title since 2014. So a good day for them. Here's my question for you, Issam. I've been thinking about this today quite a bit. For Revol, do I hold the same standard as Sparfell about starting fast? My answer is going to be no to that. Because when your main opponent, Bukowska, consistently has starts that are that bad, you have to do something with it. Like else you're just thinking, I'm just gonna wait for Bukowska to come forward and then attempt to follow her when you deep inside maybe know that she is stronger physically.
Yeah, although I tend to say that it was maybe a little over the top. A little. Like a tiny bit. It was like with the running costs a lot of energy. And the way Revol was doing it, because she was like, I wouldn't say sprinting, but it was fast the way she was running up those hills when she had to. It was quite an effort that she was putting on there in the first half kind of the race. But I think that she, you know, maybe in a sense it was a Bukowska if you compare it maybe to Liévin, where we had, I wouldn't say, maybe a similar scenario-ish. But I think that Bukowska just didn't really have it there in the end, and, you know, made, of course, that move there where she celebrated the victory and then celebrated for second. You know, 2 World Championships.
No, she celebrated the lap too early, yeah.
Yeah, you know, celebrating, you know, celebrating two championships, 2 World Championships, 3 times the celebration is not something that is done usually in a sense. So I think she can take that with her and be, you know, that's a special moment. And to pull it off, become world champion, in a sense, against the odds. We had our doubts about Revol, but of course it's difficult to and we had our doubts about Bukowska because it was again a start in which you look at it and you're like, oh, you're like, please, why are you if you are a Czech fan, you must be suffering in a sense, because it's just you look at it's painful, and then she is so strong. She comes through the field so strong, and you're like, please get through it. And she took her time. I think that was, in my eyes, how I looked at it. It was from the moment she was chasing. She didn't make some crazy moves and desperate moves. She kind of.
You just didn't see them.
Well, okay, maybe I didn't see them then.
Because her second lap, Issam, her second lap was the fastest lap of the race. Like, she really put the foot down, and like Revol, the first lap of Revol was 20 seconds faster than her last lap, and Bukovska's first lap was 30 seconds slower than her last lap. So
that was visible.
Bukovska really put the foot down and really went hard, and that resulted in her coming to the front like that. But she also had a lot of traffic to go through and a lot of ground to make up. So I think we had our doubts about Revol, but she was informed today. Go back to the one other race this season where Bukovska really had everything like going her way. Like, the start of Bukovska today was bad, but not horrible. Like, she was 17th going into the field and not 30th, which I've seen this season. What is the only other race where we had a clear situation like this between the two of them? Tabor. It was broadcasted as well. And there we got the exact same outcome. It was Bukovska in the end who managed to drop Revol. Maybe Bukovska is just a slightly stronger rider than Revol. And on this course, where it came down a lot to power, then Bukovska is a deserved world champion.
It's gonna be a shame if she's not going to be able to find the support, I guess, in a sense, to continue cyclocross. And she's also doing well in mountain bike, so maybe that will be the focus. I really hope that she can find a team that will also allow her to do cyclocross, and help her improve, because there is so much room for improvement, in my opinion, on smaller things, but things that really matter. It was just, as I said, it was painful at times to watch, but thankfully she pulled it off, and it's a win for Bukovska for sure, but it's also a win for the Czech Federation. I think the efforts that they are putting in to get these results, and it's almost like a how do you say that? It kind of rewards them in a sense. This is definitely, for sure, as we said before, the elites is what matters even more. But you want to also have some, you want to have some rewards for the work that you put in the junior categories, and this was the reward.
In order to perform, in order to perform there, you need these results, right? Like, the talent doesn't come by itself.
Absolutely. So. Yeah, I think that was obviously a great sight. I think that Revol was disappointed. I can understand it, but I think that will disappear at some point. And she obviously was very lucky to experience. She worked for it and she won it on merit, but she was lucky to have that experience of becoming a world champion as a first year junior, and in your own country. That is something that no one is going to be able to take away. It's almost a dream in a sense. And then she is also a rider that has great talent, has the support, and hopefully will stick around for a while. And is definitely a rider that we are going to follow with a lot of interest, and hopefully the potential will come out and she will be a top rider. But it's a bit early to say that right now, because you're still in that developing phase. Unfortunately, life sometimes throws a lot in your way, and it all doesn't always come out the way it should come out. But it is still, it's a very promising talent. And Grohova was that crash was a nasty one, by the way. She forgot her glasses, but she was on a mission, because she was on her bike in a so fast and continued on. And I was, that could have cost her a podium, honestly. But she managed to hold on to that, and I think to the delight of the the Czech Federation.
I'm in the pitch black now, which is a sign that it's also getting cold, and it's time for me to read this top 10. I already had the flashlight out just now. Bukovska with the win ahead of Revol and Grohova. Pelliciotti fourth, a bit disappointing, but it can happen. Jean Hubert, fifth place for her. Strong ride by the Swiss rider. She kind of knocked herself out of real medal contention in the first lap when she fell down and needed to go back to get her bike on the steep chute after the bridge. A bummer to see, because it's been really good, and we can hope that she's able to stay in cyclocross. Last year Anja Grossman raced, we lost her, but that was because she underwent surgery this winter to her jawline and was off the bike for 2 months after that, so there's still hope that Grossman returns. We will see. I mean, she signed with Trinity. Trinity has a lot of cyclocross racers. Maybe they will finally be convinced, if this becomes Olympic, to invest in that as well. Nienke Jochems, another first year with a good result, in 6th. The French placed more riders in the top 10, with Zélie Lambert in 7th, then it was Zoe Roach in 8th. Impressive ride by Alexa Haviland, a Canadian, in 9th, and Lali Pichon completing the top 10 for France. Just shortly here to close on Grova, as I shine the flashlight on my face again, but it's not of much use anymore because I'm not on my phone or my computer like last week, but on an actual camera. Grova, like, that was a really good ride, and she didn't have a bad start. I guess this is what played a role, and that I haven't acknowledged yet. On the flyover, there was a start crash. Alexa Haviland, who I just mentioned, unclipped from her pedal, shot across and caused a crash, and Grova was behind that and needed to chase. Bukovska was on the other side and managed to squeeze by, and therefore limited the damages. And that's like just one of these moments, you see what it means for Grova, where she needs to come from, and the lap times she put in were even more impressive kind of than Bukovska. Like, at some point she was lapping faster or on par with Bukovska until she crashed going into the final lap. Like, she potentially had the legs to become world champion here today, which is not something I expected to say at the beginning of this race, but she was still very happy with bronze, and I'm happy that that happened for her. So I think that's it, Issam. It's really too dark now to continue, and I think we've had everything as well. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I think we covered everything, so it was a pleasure and to cover it. It was a great day of racing. And yeah, let's run it up. It's getting dark there.
It's so cold here now, and tomorrow you will also be here, and we will be somewhere course side to record a podcast about the last day of the World Championships, the Sunday. So thanks everyone so much. Catch you guys soon. Goodbye.